This is the first video on Simulink as part of the Control101 MATLAB toolbox. The community then has agreed on an outline structure for a Control101 course, and we're doing it in MATLAB because MATLAB tools enable visualization and support tedious number crunching requirements, certainly in the area of control and simulation, which is the focus of this video series. Here, this video is going to start looking at the Simulink tool, which is in the MATLAB suite. The focus here is going to be introductory simulation and control, and we're not going to look at the far wider uses and potential of Simulink and its toolbox, which goes far beyond a Control101 course. Why Simulink then? Rather than using code, in Simulink users build a model using blocks, and this is more intuitive for many people and easy to follow. And critically, it also allows easy inclusion of varied and important components such as nonlinearity. So here's an example. You can see we've got a block diagram, and you'll notice the icons are largely self-explanatory. You can see here, this block here represents a transfer function. I'll put it in there for your transfer function. This block here represents a game. This block here represents a step input. This block here represents a scope. And this final block, you can see it tells you underneath, sends data to the workspace. And you can get more complicated diagrams. So you can see if we look at the next one here, this particular icon is largely self-explanatory. It takes 3 different signals and combines them into a vector signal. And down here, you'll see we've got a summing junction, or in other words, we've built a feedback loop. Hopefully, you'll see straight away that these diagrams are easy to understand. They're sort of intuitive, and most engineers would get what's going on straight away. And therefore, it's an easy environment for students to engage with. So why Simulinks in the Control101 toolbox? Control101 requires a good knowledge of how systems behave and how to influence that behaviour. However, linear models, and indeed models amenable to simple MATLAB code, only represent a very small proportion of real systems. So we need tools that allow the easy integration and coding of realistic scenarios and components, interconnections and dependencies, and Simulink is such a tool and has the advantage of being fully integrated with MATLAB. So you can actually use MATLAB, which is quite convenient to select your parameter choices, organize comparisons, do plotting, and so forth. Now, there's a very important warning here. Unlike M files, Simulink files are not backwardly compatible in general. So, in order to access the Simulink files in the Control101 toolbox, you'll need to be on, and you can see I put here, MATLAB 2023B or newer. So what files are in the toolbox? And this is as of April 2024. So there's a starter file. You can see it's a virtual lab or an app file. There are some example files, and there's a group of them there, which we'll talk about in the next video. And there's a number of case studies. Now, this particular video, we're only going to look at the starter file. The aim of this is to give a very gentle introduction to Simulink. So it uses a limited number of components, which are provided in a template, so the student doesn't have to search for them. It uses a limited number of settings, and it does limited error checking to help users develop the core skills. So what's the app design? There are 3 different tasks which students should do in order. So the users are asked to build a given model using the blocks provided, to edit some of the settings so they get familiar with the concept that there are settings, and then run the simulation to check whether they've done it correctly. Now, as ever, it's far easier to demonstrate this with a live demonstration, which is what we'll do now. Now, 2 things to note. This file is an app file, so it's most easily accessed through the Apps tab. When you open the app, it will also open the manual and the Simulink file. And you'll notice you need to be patient because open the Simulink file sometimes takes a little while. So let's bring the MATLAB window across. Here it is, so you can see. So if I go up to the Apps tab, and you'll see Introduction to Simulink is one of those, so we select it. Now, we do need to be patient, which I know you're watching a video and you might find that somewhat tedious, but it's probably worth demonstrating to you so you don't panic when it happens. So you'll see it's open in the manual, you're seeing that there, and here you can see it's also opened the app interface, which is what you're going to run. So the manual is there if you want to read a bit more about the background, get a bit more instructions, etc, etc. Now we're still waiting because Simulink hasn't opened yet. So there it is, it's just opened now. So I'll bring it across so you can see. So it's opened this Simulink window for you. And you'll notice this Simulink window has got a number of pre-provided icons for you to use. So let's go back now to look at the main interface. So task 1. You can see task 1 in purple. So it's giving you the instructions. What is it wants you to do? And if you look in the bottom right, you'll also see there's these different tasks that you can select with this drop down. So we'll go back to task 1. It wants you to build this Simulink diagram, but it's also giving you a bit more instruction in the purple box up here where it says the gain parameter uses the variable kp. So there's the gain parameter, it uses kp. The transfer function has a numerator n and a denominator d. So there's the transfer function block, it wants n and d. And the workspace block uses structure as the format, and the simulation stop time is end time. Okay, so what we need to do now is build that diagram and follow the instructions in that task. So here we go. Now, the problem we've got here was in my window. I need to swap the positions of the windows, I think, so we can see. Yeah, that'll work better. So you can see the figure in the bottom. So I've basically got to build that figure. So let's make this just a bit deeper. There we go. So I need a step. I've put it there. I need a gain. Let's put it there. I need to join those two together. So I join them together. And it tells me in that gain, I want KP. So you see if I double click on it, you'll see it opens and I put in the variable KP. Okay, so you'll see how straightforward this is. I need a transfer function block. So I've been given one there. So let's enter the transfer function block, join them together. And I'm told in the instructions that should have a numerator n and a denominator d. So there you can see numerator coefficients. We need to use n, denominator coefficients use d. Okay, so I've done that. Next, connect it to a scope. Okay, and also connect it to an output block. Okay, and it also told us that in the output block we should use structure. So let's open that, and you'll see here you've got structure with time or just structure. So you're getting used to the fact that when you double click on these blocks, you get these options, and you have to basically decide what options you need. So now I'm going to press save. Okay, so that's saved, and so you'll see it's called my first Simulink file Control101 task 1 my copy. Please don't change the name, because basically the app file assumes it's where it's put it and the name hasn't changed. So if I've done it right, now I can press compare task 1 and it will get run in the background and the results will appear. Okay, so basically what this is telling you is that there's going to be a mistake somewhere, because you can see the student response has got lots of red circles, whereas the correct response is the blue one. Now, so what can you do here? Well, you could open this scope and have a look. Where's the scope gone? Oh, here it is. So there's the scope, and what can you see? Has that scope got a similar plot to that blue line? And you might look at that and you say, well, actually, it does seem that the output is correct. So it's telling you that the error is going to be actually in this block here. So let's go back to the instructions and see what it told us to do. Aha! If you look carefully, can you see it's told you to use this name out.output, and I haven't changed the name. So let's go back here and let's put output and see if that helps. Also, there was another instruction I didn't follow carefully. If you look here, it says the simulation stop time is end time. So you can see stop time's up here. So let's go and put that in, end time, and press save. And let's see if those two corrections have made it somewhat better. Now what can you see? The student model response is doing exactly what I want. So hopefully you get the idea of this app. The idea is that you basically are given a few simple instructions to practice building a Simulink file, practice getting the settings a particular way as you need them. You'll see there's two more tasks which I'm not going to do in this video. You can do them yourselves. Task 2, you can see slightly different diagram, and then task 3, a slightly different diagram again. So some conclusions. We demonstrated how to run and use this introductory MLAP file in the Control101 toolbox. And the idea of this is to introduce students to Simulink using some very simple block diagrams and parameter choices. And we also export the data to MATLAB for plotting, analysis, and so forth. The next video is going to look at some of the other toolbox resources on Simulink and how you might run them